Hey, there's a lot going on in the world. Let's talk about it. I opened up a chart for right now. I've got certain maps that I use to navigate life experiences, and there's a lot of experiences that I'm witnessing in the collective right now. Um, so yeah, let's just get started. I actually spent a little bit of time before starting this video, and I wrote down every planet and channeled what that planet is doing for us in the collective right now. Not that it's like specifically doing something. I can go into my whole philosophy about what this is all about, what astrology is, and all that at another time. But for right now, let's just take it from the outside, the longest, the biggest cycle, and bring it all the way down to the smallest cycle. Okay. So, first of all, we're going to just start with Pluto. Pluto's message right now, and it's giant. It's a giant, giant message, and you're going to notice this in your personal life. You'll also notice it in the collective, and I'm going to give you some really clear examples of how this could be showing up in your life. Pluto's message right now is that the most important thing is your tribe affiliation resonance. Your tribe affiliation resident resonance. And so let's unpack that a little bit. Did you notice that while Pluto was transiting Capricorn, which was pretty much from 2008 until like these last couple of years, it's been popping in and out of Aquarius. But for that period of time, which is about 15 or so years, um, Pluto's message was something like get all of your ducks in a row, create your formulas, become a master at something, be really good at something, and then lead others with your formula. Sell it. It's worth something. Figuring out how to get somewhere is worth something, and you can sell it to others to help them get there. And so we had this huge rise of the masters. We always had gurus, we always had leaders, we always had people that we thought were very intelligent, telling us what to do. But there was an explosion of that during Pluto's time in Capricorn, where that was deeply monetized. So a lot of people hired coaches, became coaches. A lot of people listed all of their credentials. As a holdover, I even sometimes have this instinct to tell you everything I've studied in my life and what temples I've visited and like who did I study under and what philosophies of thought have I become a student of or whatever. And the thing is, all of that really mattered during the last 15 years because I believe we had a deep insecurity as a human collective around what was good. We had a deep insecurity about what was status, what was hot, what was trendy, what was cool, what was the best. A lot of trends became very publicized. We had social media showing like this is what popular is, this is what status is, this is what is hot right now, this is what the trend is, this is the formula. And so all of that helped to create confidence for a lot of people. It probably liberated a lot of people financially. The overall function from my perspective was to encourage folks to become really good at something, to step into their own mastery in some arena and to own that mastery. And now the vibe has completely changed. Now it doesn't matter how many followers you have, how much money you've made. It doesn't matter how much power you have, who you rub shoulders with. If you're affiliating with frequencies, energies, tribes, political institutions, like even like certain teams for sports, if you're affiliating with certain arenas that don't vibrate or resonate with someone, they're not interested in you. If if you used to put like someone on a pedestal, and suddenly you're finding out that they're affiliated with other folks that you don't find appealing. They're not aligned with your nervous system or your values. You may find like this repulsion. And that's what Aquarian energy does. It helps you to know what groups and affiliations, what thought paradigms you belong in. And the thing that's kind of interesting about Aquarian energy is oftentimes we enter into the Temple of Aquarius like interviewing tribes, like, are these my people? Is this my neighborhood? Is this my political affiliation? Are these my whatever? Is this my business tribe or whatever? And we can often feel as though we don't fit in anywhere. Aquarian people with a lot of Aquarius energy, they feel like they're outsiders, they're aliens, they're different, and nothing really holds them. And what we may be experiencing as Pluto has just really entered Aquarius is maybe we don't feel like we belong anywhere. We don't belong in any tribe of, we don't belong in this country. We don't belong with this political, whatever. We don't belong with these influencers. We don't belong on social media. We don't belong like we don't belong anywhere. The vibes aren't right. Like nothing quite resonates. Like the formulas don't quite jive. And so it's very, very obvious to us where we don't feel we fit. And the message is find affiliation and bring your unique signature. The opposite of Aquarius is Leo. Bring your unique signature into the groups that you feel most aligned with and create the change from your presence. Your presence is going to impregnate the tribe with your vibration, and it will inform the way that that tribe evolves as an energetic. And it's kind of hard to see, like on a really large scale, how one person could shift the vibration of a body of thought, but you can really see it like on a smaller scale. You can see it when you bring children together. Like my brother has a bunch of sons, and so my daughter has a lot of boy cousins. And you can really see when you bring one boy cousin in or you bring my daughter in, how it shifts the dynamic of the entire group of cousins. And when one is missing, it also shifts the dynamic and the vibration and the vibe. And so at a large scale, this is harder to notice. However, it's still relevant and it still functions on that scale. It's just we're not really trained to see certain scales beyond, you know, beyond the like interpersonal scale, right? But that's the Pluto message. And so you will notice that starting over the last couple of years, strategies for like positioning ourselves, like if any of you listening are in the online space with your businesses, strategies for what you offer, strategies for um, formulas, all of these things seem to be going through a massive transformation. We could find that our hearts just aren't into certain things, and we've got to transform what we do in the world because we're having to bring more of that Leo uniqueness to what we do, or else it's invisible. Like the downside of Aquarian energy is that if you fully assimilate into a tribe and you fully fit into that tribe, you're invisible. You become a part of the color of the entire tribe. You're beige. Like everything just becomes a bland kind of general neutral color. And so what, you could have like a beige pot of paint and you could bring a drop of orange in and you could bring another drop of orange in. Eventually, as you mix together, that orange will just become a warmer shade of beige. And that's kind of the downside of the Aquarian age. And we're at the beginning of this longer Aquarian timeline with Pluto. Pluto will be here for about 20 years. And because we're at the beginning of it, we can really feel the contrast of our voices. We can feel the like outsiderness of it, or we can feel like the distinct nothing is exactly fitting me properly and nothing is right for me. But our work over the next 20 years is to continuously show up as ourselves, being that orange drop of paint consistently, and know and have faith that as you do that, it gives the courage for other drops of paint, other colors of perspective to come into that space, because ultimately that space holds some general values that at the core of it, at the base essential core of that tribe, there's going to be some essential values that you do resonate with, even if some of the details are vague, right? So that's how you can shift a fixed paradigm over time. You continuously drop unique perspective that has some base level resonance with it. So that's the message that Pluto is trying to bring. And you can really see through the current events the sensation. You can feel the sensation in your body of when something feels misaligned with your values or misaligned with the core essence of what you believe or how you feel. And that's important. And that's, yeah, it can create sort of a sense of like rejection, disassociation, like you don't want any part of this. You don't want to contribute anything to that because it's so far away from your personal frequency. It's like a magnet. Um, and over time, smaller segments will begin to pool. Like all of the orange droplets will find each other in some ways. The internet's made it easier than ever for the orange droplets to gather. And as a lot of orange droplets gather and a lot of like green droplets gather, and we start to find these complementary subcategories, sub-tribes, these sub-tribes can then find resonance with each other and complementary vibrations with each other. They're magnetized to each other, even through their opposite frequencies, and they can join into a larger collective and actually make a giant impact. So if you're feeling like the world is too large right now, or the material of our society is a little bit too large right now, a good encouragement would be to create subcultures within your own frequency at first. And that doesn't careful because there's not, I've found that the universe, life, nature, uh, it doesn't automatically destroy things that are against our values. It lets like things pull with like things. And so you can see how there could be some problematic outcomes to small subcultures pooling together. And that's that's part of this. That's part of this. So now let's go to Neptune. Neptune, the message I have here is take your energetic map of experience and plant it in each movement. So let's talk about that. Neptune has been in Pisces primarily since 2012. And since 2012, it's sort of been like mm, if there was if there was a compartment in your dryer or your washing machine maybe that collected all kinds of bits and fragments and threads and stories and materials, and it's just been collecting and collecting and collecting, and you know that that stuff is going somewhere, but you're not quite sure where it's going. And maybe there's been you know maybe the check filter light has come on one of the machines, and now you know that there must be a filter somewhere. And so you kind of root out to find it. And when you find it, it's filled with artifacts from however long it's been since you cleaned it out. Neptune moving through Pisces has kind of been like that, but in our subconscious field, like in our collective subconscious field. And I'm not going to pretend to understand everything about the subconscious or multi-dimensions or any of that stuff because honestly, all of that lives in the spaces of Pisces and Neptune. And part of the experience of that temple is not actually knowing. It has to do with mystery and reflection and things that collect through many different variations of experience. So, um, when Neptune has now moved into Aries, it's sort of like opening up that filter and browsing all of the artifacts and remembering the shirt that that button went to, and when you used to have a white dog, but you don't have that dog anymore, right? Like, but all the hair, all the white hair is in there, or whatever. I mean, you can kind of take that metaphor any way you want to, but right now, I feel we're in the reality of what we have collected as a human consciousness, but also on a personal level. And it's important to note that, like, I believe everything operates at scale, like at every scale. So if you yourself are having an experience where you're opening something up that's been collecting for a long time and you're sort of taking a look at it and pulling out the valuable bits and maybe throwing out the bits that you don't need to keep, um, that could show up in very personal ways. It could show up in your body. It could show up with your health. It could show up in your relationships. It can show up wherever you have Pisces in your chart. And wherever it's now landing in Aries is where you're kind of opening it up and laying it all out and taking a look at it. So for some of us, it's going to show up on the public arena. We're going to look at the collective's unconscious, the collective's hidden filters, and it's all we know. The thing about this project or this process is, you know, that if that is there, there's probably more in the pipes. There's probably more if it was so constricted in the filter. What about everything that got through the filter? And now, so, you know, it could be a time where we are seeing we need to get the snake out. We need to really rotor-rooter some stuff. And Aries has a way of initiating with fire and energy whatever we need to do to create liberation for the being. Create like historically it was related to like the moment where you would cut the umbilical cord of the placenta from the baby so that the baby could exist as a separate being from the baby's mother. So, with the Aries energy, with Neptune, and also with Saturn, which I'll get to in a moment, we're definitely seeing a lot of like, okay, if now that we've got this, what are we going to do with all this? And so, yeah, take the energetic map of experience, take the filter, take what you're finding, and plant it into each movement you make now in ways that won't create this accumulation the way that it has. Because oftentimes, when there's a lot of accumulation, things do not function congruently with efficiency. And you can probably point out a lot of different experiences, a lot of different social structures, a lot of different economic structures, corporate structures that have not been operating congruently, coherently, and efficiently due to mysterious things in the filter. So, what will we do and how will we operate with greater coherence, congruence, etc.? And it's just at the beginning of that process. I mean, it's often stinky and messy when you first start looking at that stuff. All right, so then Uranus. Uranus has been moving through Taurus for the last 7 years or so, and Uranus just moved direct this week. And it's interesting. I'm like, this is probably the most potent planet that's speaking to me right now. Um, the message from Uranus is it's the inner security through repetition final exam. Inner security through repetition final exam. So I think at the end of this video, I'll double back and give like a really personal story about how this is showing up in my life and how I was able to really understand what the larger message is for Uranus. But probably in 2018, 19-ish, there was a stir up. There was a stir up in something. Something was stirred up. Something in the ground was shaken loose. And it started a process of reconstruction to create greater safety and internal stability for everyone involved. And that doesn't mean that the process is complete. Taurus is only the second sign of the zodiac. And after Taurus, we've got Gemini. So if you think of this like on a really small scale, let's take a child, okay? Let's take a child who is born, is very vulnerable, doesn't know how to feed itself. I mean, can't, like physically can't keep itself alive. It's arrived, it exists. It's no longer connected to its mother's body, and it's very dependent. This would be similar to the Aries phase of a cycle. It's new, it exists, and it's got it's got needs. And we need to identify what those needs are, and then we need to supply those needs. And so Taurus is the identification of the needs and the consistent supply of meeting the needs of that infant baby, right? So we feed it, we nourish it, we give it sleep, we give it safety, we give it boundaries, we give it a home. I mean, very like the Taurian stage of life is very much between like the ages of like 0 to 3, basically. Um, how do we create a consistently safe, kind of unstimulating, boring, resourced life for a developing individual so that they have a sensation of safety in their body, in their home, with their emotions, with their parents, etc. And so while Uranus moved through Taurus, we definitely would have shaken out a lot of personal material around our own needs and resources. What was essential? Like, what do we need? Like, we had a lot of social movements through this period of time, and we had a lot of really clear, serious sit downs with our nervous systems, with our health, with the health of our economies, our ecosystems, like the health of our children, the food needs, the health of our food, what's in our food. There was a lot of shakeup. There was a lot of turning upside down of many different systems that were ultimately just not actually adequate for sustaining secure internal life, physical life. And now that we have a clear idea of what all of those things are, we go through the long period of time of restructuring the information, like rewriting all of the manuals, rewriting the script, rewriting the stories. And so while Uranus moves through Gemini, which it will do, it's going to be moving into Gemini within the next couple of months, and it will be there for a good span of time. We get to rewrite all the stories. We get to test them, challenge them, call them out, basically tear them apart and write them better. And Gemini is designed to include our preferences, our opinions, our life experiences, the stories we've heard from others. Like it's relevant if you hear from a whole group of people that they're having this experience, even if the documentation doesn't describe what that is through previous research. If an entire collective of people have a similar experience, even if it's anecdotal evidence, it still becomes relevant when enough people share their stories together from an authentic space. And so Uranus will do a lot of work in our lives in that sector of our life for the next 7 years. But we've got to have some inner security about what those things are. And that's what this final exam is about. What does it mean to have inner security through the repetition, through what we've learned, through the disruptions of the last 7 years? And how do we prioritize that? This was a really big time for Generation X, anyone who had Chiron in Taurus when they were born. This would have been a really big, like, healing segment of time around, like, really honoring the needs of safety, etc. And so we're going to find in the next era that a lot of Gen X folks step into the arena of sharing, of teaching, of asking questions, of interviewing, of creating a reality for younger generations because they're at the age range now where they get to write that policy into place. They get to be they've stepped into an age that we determine has a certain level of maturity and mastery. I mean, they did all they did all the work to get their degrees and to, get become bestsellers and blah, 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 like read all the books. So we're going to have a lot of those folks stepping into the rewrite arena. And of course, they'll be interviewing people from younger generations and older generations because they're also a bridge generation. And they're the first generation that was born with their wounds conscious to them, not unconscious, because we discovered Chiron in 1977. And with that discovery, it suddenly brought something that was on the unconscious to the conscious side of the equation. I can go all into that as another time, but that is the message of Uranus. Saturn has a message that the message of Saturn is, okay, fine, you've seen enough. What will you build with your life now? Saturn is taking a pretty serious stance. Um, Saturn has been in Pisces for the last 2.5 years or so, and it's going to move in Aries like within the next couple of weeks. And right now, at the final degree of Pisces, it's really just, it's saying, have you seen enough yet? Do you need more? What else do you need? Like, how many different ways can I show you the results of everything that we had built before? We built something that has given us this outcome. And how much more do you need to see before you understand that we've got to start at square one with all the wisdom that we have and begin building something new? It's humbling to be a beginner. It's humbling to um, start at that vulnerable Aries stage because we need help. Like we can't do it all by ourselves. We need a lot of people wanting change. We need a lot of people to look to each other for assistance, aid, like we it's, I'm 46 years old, okay? I know that I know a lot of stuff. I've become a master at very specific things, and I'm a total beginner at a few key things. And I do not know how to start, and I don't know how to do it by myself. And it's so humbling to be at that square one space with myself. And I know that it's par for the course right now. And so I'm very humbly being an awkward beginner. I'm being a baby at something. I'm getting help. I am actively like feeling the frustration of not knowing how to do something and letting my ego get cut on that humbleness. And that is what connects me. I mean, the opposite side of Aries is Libra. Libra is being in co-creative relationship with another person. And hopefully I've identified people that are a reflection. There may be an opposite to me. They know a lot about certain things that I don't know a lot about, and I trust their integrity and I trust who they are and I trust their vibration and I trust their values and I'm going to ask them for help because I'm a little baby over here. And it doesn't have to be reciprocal. They don't have to, it doesn't have to be a straight across trade. Um, in a large enough perspective, we are all trading perspectives and vantage points in order to become more whole. And this is a very expansive tapestry of perspectives. And so we don't need it to be like tit for tat or like a super transactional thing. It's just acknowledging that there are lots of people who everyone's a beginner and everyone's a master at something. Everyone has some conscious competency in something specific, and everyone is, yeah. So that is what the Capricornian age taught us. That's what we all prepared ourselves for. The thing is, um, we'll still use some of the systems, some of the formulas that the Capricorn era gave us. It's just that we're not positioning ourselves exactly the same way that we did before. I can talk about that in a little bit later too. So let's talk about Chiron now. Chiron is at 23 Aries right now, and it's been moving through Aries trying to heal our relationship with this Aries part of us, this beginner instinct, this initiating force. And it's often related to the masculine principle as well because it has to do with fire, and fire moves and fire starts and fire initiates, and we've deemed fire as a masculine element because of the way it moves, um, like as an outward expression rather than a receptive force. And so there's been quite a bit of healing around that type of energy for each person. And right now, because it's in the latter degrees of Aries, we're also trying to ask ourselves what is our identity or role with our initiation for the larger whole? Like, how are we in relationship to the larger whole? Are we offering assistance to beginners? Are we sharing a perspective without judgment? Are we are we having compassion for the whole of our community? Are there, these are all questions that we can individually ask, but it is asking like what kind of medicine have you cultivated within yourself. And now, what's your identity or role in initiating with that? And from my perspective, I've got a lot of things going on that I'm initiating in my household with my children. And then also, I've got this aspect of taking what I do and turning it into something that I can provide my community, which is this video. Okay, Jupiter. Jupiter has been in Cancer. It's going to be moving direct in Cancer very soon. Jupiter's currently in the mid degrees of Cancer. So it's really feeling tender within the interpersonal space. And Jupiter says it's going to be tender. You will seek emotional safety. And what is emotional safety and vulnerability um, look like through all of this? Like, there will be things that will cause your heart to feel tender, that will cause your heart to feel vulnerable, that will cause you to think about vulnerable people. Like, how are you, how are you holding that? How are you responding to your emotions? How are you responding to your emotional vulnerability? Do you get snappy and withdraw and protect, or do you remain soft and open and connect to the soft open spaces of others? And so I find it interesting that while we have all of this transition going on in the world, we've got this super soft spot within us. And there's a huge spectrum of um, coping strategy within the Cancer sections of our chart. And I'm certain that every person is seeing in real time what their coping strategies are when they feel vulnerable. Do you get angry instead of cry? Do you stop talking to everybody? Do you reach out to everybody? Do you like, you know, put it out into the world? Do you keep it super close and tight to yourself? How is your coping strategy for vulnerability? How is it serving you? We're midway through this cycle. It's retrograded back to this mid place, and it's going to move forward and move into Leo this year. So, we have a big reflection point now, and we had that full moon in Leo just like last weekend, and I perceived that full moon like a mirror, like any way that I was feeling on the inside about anything that I was observing outside, that's showing me where I feel soft, vulnerable, and what I do in response to that. And so we're going to take that information, we're going to move through this last half of Cancer, and we're going to be entering into a really expansive time for expression. When Jupiter is in Leo, it'll be opposite all of the Aquarian energy that I spoke about earlier, and it will be like, okay, I'm an orange droplet. Where are my oranges? Where are my purples? Like, let's do complementary things. Let's be attracted to each other. Let's combine in interesting ways. Like, let's do some color theory and create some colors that have never existed before. And that will be a whole like movement for the Aquarian adjustment that we're all craving, I think. Okay, so then Mars. Mars is in Aquarius right now, and Mars is saying that we move when it's resourced, resonant, coherent with our values. We move, it's Aquarian right now. We move when things are resourced. So when we don't have enough energy for something, when we don't have enough attraction or compulsion or repulsion, when we don't have the resource to express, we don't move. Um, when something is resonant with us and we have the resource, we move. And when it's coherent with our values, we move. And that is the currency that's providing us with the force necessary to initiate anything right now. I mean, um, sorry, I don't know if I'm still recording. I just got a notification that my connection's a little bit patchy, but let's hope that it's still recording. Sorry for that little bubble. Um, okay, so now I'm going to talk about Black Moon Lilith. That's probably why I got like sketch. As every time Black Moon Lilith stuff is still very relevant for me. I was just in a like esoteric bookstore a couple weekends ago, and I picked up three more books on her, primarily because even though I have a personal relationship with the archetype of Black Moon Lilith, I'm really interested to hear what other people say. because she is kind of a shadow aspect, and it's deeply intriguing to me to hear how people speak about shadow things. So let's talk about her. Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith is currently in Sagittarius. And she says, can you handle the truth? The gurus, the teachers, the experts, the leaders, even ourselves, what what we didn't want to see is revealed. So can we handle the truth? Because the gurus, the experts, the teachers, the leaders, and even ourselves, what we didn't want to see is now revealed. And so, you know, while Black Moon Lilith was in Scorpio, which was like the last 9 months of last year, there was a lot of kind of sticky, itchy, scary, unknown material in our subconscious, material in the world. Like we were all kind of feeling like we're trying to see between the lines, like what is this actually about? How is this where's the shadow? Where's the wound? Where's the thing? Is it me? Is it you? Is it our pattern? Like what is all this? And then early this year, Black Moon Lilith moved into Sagittarius, and I use the mean Black Moon Lilith, like the median Black Moon Lilith. I know it's a aspect that like swings around. In my philosophy, choose a system and stick to it and trust that the system itself is not the truth, that the system is a finger pointing at the truth, and let the finger point you without fixating on the finger. Just let the finger point you and then tap into the field that ergoic entity is trying to express. And so I think we can see pretty clearly that a lot of things are being exposed, a lot of things are being witnessed. There are many different pieces of evidence that we're like, oh, and how are we resisting that? Are we projecting that away? Are we completely rejecting? Do we have shame about that? Is it triggering something inside of us that we don't want to feel or think about? Like, I'll be honest, things that are happening in our collective sometimes hijack my attention. And I feel like as I'm browsing through material, it's like I'm running my fingers over like stitches and scar tissue. Like I'm like pulling at stitches and like scratching at things that I've healed up, I've moved through, that I've like that are yeah, even like have you ever run your finger over a scar and it kind of feels like a phantom, like you can feel the pressure, but maybe you can't feel the acuteness. Like there's a little numb area. I'm noticing that as I move through some of the events of our current reality, that's what it feels like in my psyche. And also I've got Sagittarius in my 12th house, so obviously it also is going to feel a little more subterranean, subconscious for me. Um, but yeah, for not for everybody. So that's what Black Moon Lilith is saying. And then we get to the Earth. The Earth is currently backed into Leo. The sun is in Aquarius, but the Earth is in Leo, and it's saying, how does your unique life weave into all of this? How does your unique frequency, your unique recipe, your unique perspective, how does your unique expression, the way you live, how is that weaving into all of this? How are you contributing to this? How are you holding a frequency through all of this? And that's just a question. I mean, the earth just had a question. So it's up to us to kind of be in relationship to that question. Venus is in Aquarius, and Venus is saying we can feel what resonates in our body, notice, and create the space to notice. So Venus is like, hey, you're gonna feel it. It's on a visceral level. Like just give yourself a little bit of space to feel it, and it will be obvious what you feel. Um, and you know, I've talked a lot about Aquarius already, but Venus can also feel like she doesn't want any part of this. Like she's detached from this. She doesn't belong in this. Like she doesn't have a, she's not, she's observing it, not connecting to it. She's seeing it, she's not of it. Or she's of the world, she's not in the world. Like there's a certain vantage point that Venus is taking. And I think that when Venus moves into Pisces, she's going to be there's going to be a lot of things that happen when Venus and Mercury get into Pisces because that's where Mercury is going to retrograde. But let's just talk about it right now. Mercury also in Aquarius. Mercury saying that there's lots of information. Um, what do I say there? There's lots of information, something based on your reticular activating system. You see what you look for, scratching the stitches. Oh, scratching itches pulls out stitches. That's okay. So Mercury is, oh, the algorithm. That's what it is. Okay. So Mercury is saying that with all the information that's available, Mercury is going to deliver exactly the information that we're paying attention to, that we're looking for. We're going to be using our reticular activating system. That's a part of our awareness that prioritizes finding what we're looking for. So if you're looking for proof of something, if you're looking for whatever, you're going to attract more and more and more and more of whatever you're looking for. And you're probably not going to see things that you're not looking for, even if they're there. And Mercury is also saying that when you scratch at itches, it pulls out stitches. So be aware of what you're scratching open within yourself right now. And maybe it's time to pull the stitches out. Maybe we're all healed up on certain things within ourselves, and maybe it's time to like prepare some like formal statements about what you've learned, as I am doing now. Then let's talk about the moon today. The moon's in Libra. The moon's just saying, let's look at this together. Let's sit down and look at this together. Can we have a conversation about this that you know is just and balancing equations? It's seeing a bigger picture, is collaborative, without like creating opposing sides. Like, is there a way that we can come together to look at this? And then we have the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo. And from my perspective, having the nodes in Virgo and Pisces is just creating a really strong mirror. The Virgo side of the equation is, asking us to let go of our attachment to thinking that it's just us, that when we look in the mirror, all we see is ourselves. Um, I was born with a North Node in Virgo, which is interesting because my work is to make it personal, is to actually have a me when I look in the mirror instead of seeing an accumulation of like all that is, because my South Node's in Pisces. But since we have a North Node in Pisces right now, the overall lesson for the collective is to look in the mirror and see how we're a collective of so many things. We're a collective. Our personal ecosystem is connected to everything that we've eaten, everything that we breathe in, everything we drink, every person we've ever kissed, every hand we've ever held, every piece of dirt we've ever inhaled or ingested. That's a part of us. Like we are made up of many, 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 many parts, more than we can even imagine. And that's also true of our consciousness. Our consciousness is made up of so many parts, and we have a collective consciousness that's made up of so many parts. And what we're seeing is a real strong look in the mirror. And as you know, when you look in a mirror, you can look at anything. You can look with any degree of criticism. You can look with any degree of magnetism. You can get really, really close and like look at your pores and your nose hairs, and you can back up and zoom out and look at the light coming through the window behind you. You know, you can look at the way that you move, or you can be really still and like just look at it like it's a frame, like a snapshot. So we have a lot of agency as we look in the mirror, but the important thing to remember is to know that it is a mirror and it is made up of many, 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 many things. And it is us on a certain scale. Okay, so those are all my notes for each of the planets. Um, I definitely lost some of my recording, but I think that it continued recording for one of my things. I told you I would share a bit of my personal experience with Taurus. Mm, to be honest, I think that I might reserve that for another time. I'm just not, I'm suddenly like, no, I think I said enough. I think this was adequate. I'm really interested to hear if you were able to identify some of your own patterns, if you can recognize how all of this is landing for you. Of course, everyone has their own personal recipe within the broader recipe here. Like, what I know is there's like the collective Venus, and then there's the personal Venus. It's like the tiny little droplet of Venus that we get to carry within our own psyche. And that's true for all of the planets. And each one of our personal placements is in relationship with this larger atmosphere. And so everyone's way of experiencing this moment is really personal, and I've been able to drop into so many people's personal recipes that it all the personal stories help to inform my understanding of the larger picture, because I can take all the small stories and I can weave it together as like a larger collective vibe. And I think that my brain just has some like really complex pattern recognition capabilities. I I probably have trained it. That's probably what I became a master of over the last 15 years or so. Um, but now I want to take that gift and I want to add my perspective to the soup. And I hope that what I've shared has helped you to see your part in all of it and to give some context to some of the things that are going on. In any case, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will drop in again when I feel coherent with that. All right, thanks. Bye.